Now, sticking with company developments, AlexForbes has reported a 25% increase in its closing total assets, which include assets under administration and assets under management. The financial services group says the performance was due to the successful implementation of its strategy despite a challenging operating environment. Earlier on, I was joined by CEO Dawie de Villiers, and I started off by asking him to paint a picture of the biggest highlights that the group saw operationally in the half year.
You know, I think it's a culmination of a period of good implementation and good strategy. But in the 6 months we've seen good market returns, and half of our revenue is dependent on the market. So very good market returns, which gave us a little bit of a kicker in the revenue. And then we also had the two-pot fees. It's just 1 month of two-pot fees, but that's in addition to what we had the previous year. So certainly that helped a bit. And then thirdly, new business. We've constantly written new business. Even last year's new business gives us a better base this year. So those three elements, I would say, is the biggest part of the nice revenue uplift during the year.
Yeah, let's zoom into new business, because you talk about the new business pipeline having a few factors impacting it. And just elaborate on that for us and the dynamics of the competitive market conditions as well.
Yeah, so a few aspects there quite interesting, as you say. The one is a lot of the funds. So we operate in the pension fund industry, obviously. A lot of the funds, was not going to make big calls during COVID, during two-pot.
Yes, okay.
So two-pot, consumed our lives and consumed the trustees' lives, and everybody had to get ready for that. So nobody was going to shift, to another administrator or even move consultants during this period.
Okay.
So I think that muted the new business a little bit.
Okay.
But then we also had very good growth in our umbrella funds. Which was interesting. It was a long-term kind of pipeline. As you know, we normally say it's long-term pipeline, but some of it came through during the 6 months. So that helped the new business a lot.
Yeah.
And then I think, as the pipeline got kind of, shorter during two-pot, I think, we'll hopefully see it in the next 6 months come out.
All right. Well, let us actually talk about the two-pot system and AlexForbes' role in it. What level of outflows have you seen so far? And are there any trends that you are picking up so far within that two-pot system?
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic. I must tell you, we didn't understand human behavior fully. That I must say. The amount of people that wanted to claim in the first week was just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
We had 4 million people interacting with us in our digital portal in the first 2 weeks. In the previous year, about 20,000 people interacted with us. So that was just phenomenal. So we had about 350,000 claims, which is a third of our client base claimed.
Wow.
It was worth about 6.5 billion to date. And that flowed out, of our portfolios in the past 2 months.
Yes.
And it didn't really affect the portfolios because you get cash flows in and cash flows out and normal contributions. So the market and the portfolios were fine, but certainly we paid 6.5 million out of the portfolios as well. Some of it, over time, and I think we see from the stats that we interviewed people afterwards that about 50% of people that we interviewed, some of them claimed and some didn't claim, but about 50% of those that we interviewed said that they will continue to claim in the future. They like access to the money, they think that they've got debt, and they will continue to claim. So the concept of two-pot is not a once-off, it's a business as usual now, which is quite interesting.
We'll talk about the fact that it is now business as usual, and looking at the acceleration of interaction that you have had with your clients. Can we expect your cost base to be elevated then going forward because of the investment that you are making into the two-pot withdrawal processes, at least in the short to medium term?
Yeah, for sure. And you saw our expenses, increased by 11%, and we
Yes.
tried to manage our employee cost and all our costs, except we had to spend on IT.
Yeah.
And we actually had to hire about 50 more people,
Wow.
almost 6 months ahead of Two-Pot, because they had to be trained. So there was a lot of extra expenses, and I think that will also be the message that will come from the FSCA, how much money people had to spend to get the systems right. You must remember, and I mean, we may not making excuses, but we had old, employee benefit schemes that interact on a daily basis, but only with an employer. There's a one-on-one relationship. Now every employer has got 10,000 employees, and there's a 10,000 on one relationship. So we had to change our systems a lot, and get a lot more people in to cope for it. So yes, a lot of extra expenses, and we're hoping to over time break even on the fees that we charge, covering the expenses.
Well, let's actually talk about that. And you also mentioned the FSCA, and I do understand that they are conducting an investigation into the fees of all the pension fund administrators. What kind of engagements have you had there?
Yeah, I think it's very positive. Throughout this Two-Pot, with all the regulators, the Prudential Authority and the FSCA, and with the industry, it's been very positive. And I welcome the FSCA looking into it. I think, there's too many comments in the market about untoward fees and those things. This is about the member, and it's about treating the member fair. And, we have TCF principles, and therefore it's right for them to look at it. And we await their outcome. But on top of that, it's also a very competitive market. You must understand, on day one, we didn't know what the others were charging, but, soon we'll all know what all the fees are, and the competitiveness of this market will drive, the right fee level and the right behavior. I think it is right to charge a fee. There's a lot of cost in the transaction, and there's a lot of cost, as you said, up front, So, and it makes the whole administration system a lot more complex. So there is the right level of fees. We must just get to it over time.
Dawie, as we wrap up the conversation, I mean, you talk about a very competitive market. So what new frontiers is AlexForbes working to break as you extend your growth runway and also market share?
Yeah, our biggest opportunity is in the retail market. We're an institutional business by nature. We interact with corporates and funds, and we look after the institutional side of the business. But now we've got 1.5 million members who are engaging with us on a day-to-day basis as a result of Two-Pot and other things. And suddenly they're also much more interested in their retirement funds, which is amazing. It's really amazing. And I think it's probably the best outcome of Two-Pot is people now care about their savings because they can have access to it, and they also don't want to lose out in the long term. So, we are so excited to give them advice, to give them help through our counselors, through our platforms, through the online, so that the more members interact with us, the more they will also hopefully like us and write business with us. So we see almost the retail angle of retirement funds as a massive new opportunity for us, and that's exciting.
All right. Well, thank you so much for painting that picture for us, Dawie. Much appreciated. That was Dawie de Villiers, CEO for AlexForbes.